10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RXMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio. Watch out!
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician Chris Aceto on this July 29th, 2019 evening. And Chris, the USA Championships were this past weekend. We had a couple of pro shows this past weekend, and we have no lack of drama in the bodybuilding world once again for the about 100th week in a row, it seems like. Now, if it's not bad enough, we had the Rhoden, announcement. It's not bad enough the whole Jeremy Buendia thing went down. We'll talk about that a little bit. All these girls coming out, and he seems to be getting fried in public media. Now Larry Wheels has got some girl who he was dating, an ex-girlfriend, who's accusing him of misappropriation or abuse in some sense or another.
What happened?
Well, I don't know. Evidently, I got a call from someone who's very close to Larry, and they said that Larry's ex-girlfriend posted a video, and they wanted to just give me the inside story. I guess, he's been dating this girl for 5 years, and, they have one of these relationships, he's cheating on her, and she, whatever, he's kicking her out, and then they're getting back together, and they were living, Larry used to live in New York. I think that's where they met. Then they moved to LA. Now they went to Dubai. Evidently Larry lives all over the world. Did you know that? He doesn't have one place.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He'll go to he was in Iceland for a while training with Hafthor Bjornsson.
Mm-hmm.
Then he was in LA for a while, living out there. I don't know what he was doing out there, training, I guess. And now he's in Dubai for a couple months, evidently. So, are you there, Chris?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh.
I'm waiting for the punchline. Like what?
The punchline is that evidently she called the cops on him. They had this is what happened. They had an argument. I don't know if he got caught cheating on her or what. I don't know what the case is. They were arguing, yelling, and screaming, and whatever. And she recorded some of this. I don't know. He was yelling at her. It sounds like they were pushing or things got knocked over. I don't know if he was beating her up. He said she was punching her. I don't know. You can't really tell. Some people are going to say, Dave doesn't know what he's talking about. You can hear. I don't know because I'm not there. I'm not interpreting anything. But what I know is that she pulled a knife because she said she felt like she was in danger. She pulled the knife. He called the cops. Cops came, and no one got arrested. So she had no bruises on her. Larry was clearly saying, "Get out of the house." He didn't want her there. I mean, usually when people are abusing people, they're not kicking them out. They're like, "You better not go, or I'll do something to you." That kind of thing. So I think to me it sounded like maybe he wasn't the greatest boyfriend in terms of fidelity. And she stuck around too long because, why was she putting up with this for so long if he wasn't being faithful to her? And I'm sure she loved him and everything like that, but, that's what happens.
Mm-hmm. And where is it?
Yeah. Do you hear a lot of, noise, coming from the microphone?
I don't hear anything.
All right, because I think I hear a lot of, clicking, and I don't want to annoy people with it, so... No. It's look, you know what? It's just what's happening now. It seems is that because of our industry and what's going on with, like I said, with Rhoden and now Jeremy Buendia, we're going to start to see every person who thinks that they're being abused and maybe are coming out of the woodwork now. And so this is, I think, only the beginning of the storm. I think we're going to see a lot more of this because I think women are then going to feel empowered. That, hey, you know what? Maybe I should talk about what happened to me. And some of them may be completely legitimately may have been being abused, and then others may not have been. And maybe they just want to jump on the bandwagon because they feel scorned or something like that. So,
well, it's the nature of where we are too, of course, with the internet, because things can't be hush-hush like they were 15, 12 years ago. In other words, if John Smith, IFBB pro, had pushed his wife or girlfriend and she had a knife and the police came, you'd probably never hear about it. But people have an easy access platform via, Instagram or YouTube to put something out there, and in 2 seconds everybody knows about it.
That, and plus people record things with their iPhone now. And here's my question to you: do you think that there's a lot more abuse out there that's potentially out there that we're not hearing about, that people are afraid to talk about, and then all of a sudden now, because of the Rhoden case and the Buendia case, everyone feels like, okay, it's okay for me to come talk about it? Or do you think they're just, like I said, do you think people are jumping on the bandwagon here?
I think that probably, men have been abusing women for forever, right? I mean, and it just I don't know. I mean, I don't think people abuse women any more or less now than they did 10 to 15 years ago, in relationships. But
you need more people talking about it then.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I think that, the Buendia thing's been brewing for a while. I mean, people have been.
Yeah, I lost you there, Chris.
You there?
Yeah, I lost you for a second. You said this has been brewing for a while, with the Buendia thing.
I mean, the Buendia thing has been brewing for a while. I mean, there's always been, some type of, talk about Jeremy Buendia in relationships and possible, abuse and so forth. And I don't know, maybe the Rhoden thing has empowered people to think that, that I'm going to let out my side of the story, or, in terms of being abused or whatever.
You know what's weird? The Rhoden thing seems to be isolated to this one incident. You don't hear about, I mean, who knows? I don't know what Rhoden does with women. He's got his own thing going on, whatever. That's fine. But you never hear about Rhoden and abuse. You never heard those, terms together. This is a weird, one-off.
Let me just go back.
Yeah.
You never hear about Rhoden and abuse, or Rhoden and getting high, or Rhoden and drugs, or Rhoden and violence, or
right.
Rhoden backbiting, or Rhoden talking negative about people, except Phil at the press conference. You know what I mean? I mean,
that's why this was so shocking, I think, to a lot of people, because no one expected it to come from Sean, and that's why everyone really wants to see Sean go, get off and be clear to this, because it doesn't seem like it's in his character. It doesn't mean he didn't do it. Okay, I'm making that very clear here. If he committed rape, then he should go to jail. But it's not something that you hear about. Then you hear about Jeremy, that we've heard stuff for years about abuse with these girls, and verbal and physical, and now all these girls decided to band together and come together and release all this. And people think that I downplayed this and that I wasn't being sympathetic to them. But what I wasn't sympathetic to was the fact that, I understand when women are in an abusive relationship, a lot of times it's hard to get away from it. I know that whole thing, because it's kind of like they that's all they're used to. It's like they think it's normal. But some of these girls, I'm not going to even name names, were out of relationships with him. In other words, they got out, they were in relationships with other people, and then they went back to him. That's what baffles me. That's why I think there's a level of drama there that, while his actions were not good, why would these girls who were out of the relationship then go back out with him? Did they really think he was going to change? I mean, that's what's really annoying me a little bit about the whole thing.
Well, I mean, are you blaming them, or?
No, I'm blaming the fact that, I am blaming them a little bit, because there was and I'm not talking about the girl who he trapped in the Philippines or whatever. I'm talking about, some of the girls he was dating here. They knew what he was about, and they were out of relationships, and they went back. And it seems like all these guys that were hanging out with him, there was one guy who he had this, they were friends one day, they were not friends the next day. He was the one who Kenny Ko interviewed. he was just as bad. He even admitted to it that he was doing, abusive to his girlfriend, and that he was cheating, and that I banged Jeremy's girl, and then Jeremy was dating her, and it was like this whole like round robin thing and they were doing. He said we were doing blow together, me and Jeremy. So it was like this whole drug-induced, like weird party atmosphere around Jeremy and this guy and all these girls that seemed to have a lot of these different friends in common. You know what I mean? It was like a weird, like dysfunctional, like family thing that was going on.
I know, but you can't err on the side of you.
But they were feeding. It was like they were enabling him to continue his abusive ways because it was like they wanted to get more of this guy. Like, oh, Jeremy's a star. I got to get more of this guy because I'll just go back out with him. He'll change, Or I mean, it was this. It's like the dumbest thing. And look, I know the levels of abuse and how people get wrapped up in it, but they went back to him. It just didn't make sense to me. And that, I wasn't trying to be unsympathetic to the situation because if he was abusing them physically, then shame on him and he should go to jail. What I don't understand is how come no one ever had him arrested? How come he's not in jail right now for all this?
I don't know.
It just seems weird, right?
Maybe
if they have all this evidence and all these physical bruisings and all this taped evidence and text messages, how come he's not even been arrested?
Because maybe they never. There's a difference between putting it out there on the internet and calling the police and telling them about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to get Kenny Ko. Kenny Ko, who is the guy who basically spearheaded this whole movement against Jeremy because Jeremy was a dick to him. He had him sue. He was suing him because Kenny was revealing a lot of this stuff a while back, and so now Kenny has actual witnesses coming on who are giving testimonial about this, which you can't really. I could just sue someone for this. These people are actually admitting it on his show, and so. And look, Kenny's. This is a little retribution for He's acting like he's like the savior of the women's community, but he's doing a good service to them. And I like Kenny, even though he badmouthed me on his show, and I'm getting him on our show back on our show on Tuesday to talk about this whole situation because he knows all the details. Because to be quite frankly, I've listened to a lot of what he's been putting out, but I haven't listened to it all. So I want to see what his impression is about this whole thing. I'm going to ask him all these questions because he seems to be the expert on the whole Jeremy Buendia case.
Well, you can't criticize the woman without being consistent and criticizing the bank robber in Rhoden's case.
Yeah. Well, true. That's a different story, though.
Well, I mean,
we'll go through that. The problem with the Rhoden case, and they're going to try that in court, so I don't need to try it, is that it was a one-time thing. It's weird because it was like he said, she said. You don't know, and I don't know what happened because we weren't in that room with them. Somehow these lawyers are going to have to get to the bottom of what happened in that room,
Maybe they'll,
Yeah, and then they're going to have to try to convince the jury that one of them is telling the truth. Or enough of the truth to determine what happened.
The question is it Sean or the bank robber?
Right. True. But that's true. But, the bank robber, does, whether she lied to, the FBI or took money, whatever the case may be.
Well, she robbed the bank.
At the end of the day, did she get raped? That's all that matters. I mean, that's what we have to try to figure out, Did she get raped? I don't know. There was obviously consent. There was some kind of sex going on there. Whether it wasn't completed or not, she has bruises. Was it consensual? Did they have a relationship prior to that? We don't know. Right?
What she has bruises of what? What type of bruises?
She supposedly has vaginal, lacerations. They said
maybe she's got lacerations from her husband.
Well, Sean's DNA was on the lacerations. That's the only problem. So now, was it rough sex? Maybe she liked rough sex. I don't know. Who knows what happened? We don't know. You weren't there, and I wasn't there. You can only know what Sean told you, and I only know what I hear in the public, arena. Well, I don't believe anyone until we. Well, that's why they got to go to court.
Well, that's why I preface it to. I go back to Sean doesn't. We don't know Sean as a woman abuser. We don't know Sean as a backbiter. We don't know Sean as somebody who talks negatively about people. We don't know Sean about Sean as being dishonest. Those are all characteristics that do not fit him. And on the flip side, you have a bank robber. I mean,
she didn't go in and rob a bank at gunpoint. Okay, so let's not make it seem like she, let's paint her as the person that she is. And supposedly the case, she doesn't owe any money, from what I understand.
I disagree with that. I mean, she didn't go in with a gun and rob a bank, but she stole money from a bank, from Wells Fargo Bank.
Right. Which doesn't mean that she wasn't raped, though. So you can't just because she did one thing doesn't mean she didn't do another thing. But I also at the same time, we won't know what happened there. Okay, we don't know what happened. It would have been better. Imagine if this would have happened and she said it happened twice to her. Rhoden did this twice to her. That would be. Then we would start saying, well, what's going on? This is a one-time off thing, and she reported it immediately. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows what happened? I don't know what happened. Maybe she allowed him to maybe she did lead him on in the room. We don't know. And then at some point she made him stop, and then she went and cried rape. I don't know. There's a million scenarios. That's why these lawyers are going to get to the bottom. By the way, what do you think about Sean hiring Rick Collins as his defense attorney?
I don't know, because I don't know. I've only met Rick Collins. He seems like a very bright guy. He seems like a very honest guy. I mean, he's got his reputation, obviously, that we know about in terms of his, specialty representing bodybuilders. But, in terms of criminal defense, one, I don't know. But two, I think that probably with anyone that you're working with, whether you're working with a lawyer, whether you're working with somebody who's remodeling your house, you have to be comfortable with that person. Right. And that might be as important. Maybe not the most important thing, but it's got to be an important factor in the dynamic. Yeah.
When I got in trouble, it was like I had God with me, because no one knew steroid law better than Rick, right? And so there was not even a hesitation that I was going to hire him. Not to mention I was friends with him already, but I called him up and that was it. We were, and I felt very comfortable going to court with him. And you know what? When I had to make decisions, I always asked him. I said, Rick, you tell me what to do, because there's no one who has better instincts in these situations than you for steroid law, which is what I was dealing with. And so, I thought he was perfect. Now, Rick has defended a lot of people who are facing a lot of jail time, and he does very well, to get people off and to exacerbate terms. But a lot of times, these federal crimes like what I was facing, it's not a trial type thing. It's like, how much can we whittle down these prosecutors to try to get this thing down to no jail time, And he did the best he could with me. I was getting something just because I wasn't willing to cooperate. And, because the way it was, the charges were, I had to do something. But he got it to the lowest he possibly could. Now, when you're talking about rape, okay, there is no acceptable plea. He's not plea bargaining. He's got to go to trial, because he's got to be exonerated. That's the only way this is going to go down. I don't see Sean taking a plea deal.
No, neither do I, at all.
I mean, because this is his reputation. It's livelihood. I mean, he goes to jail for this. He's a rapist. He's a convicted sex criminal. That's not going to be acceptable. And especially if he didn't do it, he wants to be cleared. So, Rick I think he's in very capable hands. I just don't know. Rick doesn't really have a lot of, rape, trial experience, but he's an amazing, litigator. So I think it'll be interesting. I think it was an interesting choice. I didn't even, it didn't even come into my wheelhouse of thinking of Rick as a potential guy to do this. But, when in retrospect, looking over it now, I'm like, I think he's in good hands. And I think Rick hired someone locally there as well to represent him. So he's got two lawyers. All they got to do is get F. Lee Bailey now on the team.
Yeah. I actually drove by the town.
See, you were thinking about it.
Yeah, I just had all my kids with me, and I didn't have time to tote them along. knock on his door.
Serious. Maybe Rick will go up to F. Lee and let him look at the DNA evidence and scrutinize it a little bit for him as an advisor.
Let's see how good your memory is. Who was the DNA specialist?
Oh, I know that guy. I see him in my head because I remember watching all the testimony. Doug something or other, was it?
Barry Scheck.
Barry Scheck. Right. Yeah, Barry Scheck. He was good. That guy was good too, right?
Yeah.
What did F. Lee Bailey do? Who did he interrogate?
I think he was like the big wheelhouse in the experience.
He had a part of the trial that he interrogated, how they collected the evidence. That's what he did. Yeah. He ripped them apart, how they collected it, like how they fucked up all these different protocols and procedures. The minutia that he was asking was it was crazy, right?
Yeah, well, it's all minutia. That's what legal all is, right?
Well, I mean, but if you fuck things up, you fuck things up. They're trying to create probable doubt. That things were done wrong, and boy, were they ever done wrong. You would think would a person like O.J. Simpson, such high profile, that they would have done everything by the book, and nothing was. They fucked that. It was like the biggest bunch of fuck ups of all time. They were so excited, I think, that O.J. was getting arrested that they just completely forgot all protocol.
Well, maybe they thought it was a possible slam dunk from the beginning.
They thought it was a slam dunk, right?
I think that was another word that they used in that trial, slam dunk. I think one of the I think it was Mark. Was it Mark Fuhrer? Remember the cop?
Mark Furman. He was the racist cop.
Furman, yeah.
the cop who used the N word. They got
on tape.
Yeah, on tape. That said he didn't say it, and they found the tape of him saying it. Oh. Wow. What a crazy trial that was. It was probably one of the most entertaining trials. I mean, it was probably one of the only real trials that people were glued to their TV set every day.
Yeah, it was.
You think that this Rhoden trial may be broadcast?
Did they even broadcast trials anymore?
Yeah, they do. Court TV.
Yeah. No, did they? No, I don't think it's.
Yeah.
I don't. We'll see. Maybe.
They do.
Maybe.
I'm sure there'll be someone in the court who will be reporting every day from there.
Yeah.
Justin Dees picked up Sean that day from the airport and brought him to the hotel before all that went on. He'll be a witness on the stand for sure.
Maybe he'll be a character witness for who? No,
they're going to get him on. They're going to say what was the mindset of Sean, what happened. They're going to want to. They're going to have to build up the whole lead up to that. Say they're going to reconstruct that day, and I'm sure he's he knows the what Sean was like and what happened and where he dropped him off, and for sure. Because I had asked him if he wanted to come on the show originally, and then he said, I think I'm going to wind up getting subpoenaed to testify. I said, you're right. You better not say anything.
Yeah.
Because originally, some idiot on the internet put out that it was his wife, Heather, Heather Dees, that it was her that got raped, which was not true, of course. Some idiot put out a YouTube video on it. So I said, you want to come on the show and just tell people it's not you? Because they were really pissed off that someone said that. I said, don't they know how crazy Justin is? I said, Justin, don't they know that you probably would have killed Sean? He's like, I know. But people are just dumb. So yeah, I said, you better not come on. I said, you probably are going to become a witness. Anyway, getting back to the whole Jeremy situation. Do you think that they're going to arrest this guy after all this stuff went on?
What can they only make an arrest?
They can make it after the case. Yeah, they can. Look at Bill Cosby.
My point is, can they make they need someone to press charges to make an arrest, right?
Well, why wouldn't these girls all press charges? They're basically trying him in public opinion, court of public opinion.
Because maybe they would just want to. Maybe this did it happen? Maybe let's say it did happen. They just want to humiliate him and show to the bodybuilding world what they think he's really about.
Who cares? No one in 6 months. No one will even remember.
I know, but that might be enough just to humiliate him. That might be their goal.
Well, he did lose his contracts, so what was that company? Steel Fit or something like that? I don't remember. It was one of these companies dropped him. And then he claims that he resigned from the other sponsors he had just to step away and do some anger management. He's claiming that he does have an anger management problem. He went on his Instagram and did a whole thing, but he said that he didn't physically abuse these girls at all.
I mean,
you
need to go to the press conference, and he's got kind of like there's a temper and there's anger.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's definitely a hothead. He admits it. He said it even on my show. I had him on. I interviewed him, and he said that he had an anger problem growing up, and he had a weird, screwed up childhood. But he claims he did not physically touch any of these girls, even though they're showing bruises or whatever. But who knows if it was from him? I don't know. But I would think if you're going to go on these shows and talk about this, that the guy should be arrested, right? So he doesn't do it again. That's what I would think. If you want to save the world.
Well, you need to get one of the girls to follow through.
I'm going to ask Kenny K. Kenny K. will be on the show on Tuesday. I'm going to ask him. He knows all the gossip. He knows the whole story. And
why don't you see if Jeremy wants to come on?
I don't think Jeremy's going to say anything. I can reach out to him. I could text him.
I mean,
what is he going to say? He's going to say, "Yeah, I beat the crap out of these girls." No, he's going to say that I screamed at them, and I was an asshole. I kicked them out, and I was abusive, in the sense of verbally abusive. But I would never put my hands on him. That's what I would say if I were. He's not going to admit to anything.
He's going to have he can have an opportunity on your show to give a first-hand account of what he says happened and didn't happen. Yeah. I mean, it's like, what's that saying? Straight from the horse's mouth, rather than innuendo and he said and she said and this person said and Kenny said and
they went above and beyond of the Call of Duty to annihilate basically Jeremy on Kenny's show, several videos in a row. Okay, because there's obviously the people who are around Jeremy do not like him, obviously. He obviously was not a nice person to them. He threatened them many a time, he's going to get them fired. This one kid, he actually did get him fired a few times, from a couple of companies, so if you don't get rid of him, I'm not going to be here anymore. And I guess he was making the money. And so, so all these guys now are pissed off. They're like, you know what? Fuck this guy. He's trying to, hurt our careers. Now we're going to expose him for who he is. And I understand there's like that retribution thing, but I don't know. The whole thing is like a weird. It was like a whole sick chain of codependence on this one on like Jeremy was like this rock star that they couldn't get enough of.
I guess the question is if one of the girls press charges, is Pekka going to suspend him for life? Or that was where I was going. People saying, well, he should be suspended also. Well, he's not competing in the Olympia. That's why they don't have to suspend him. That's the real reason. Well, just in case he wants to.
Well, let him. You got to fill out a contract to do it. If they did that, I'm sure they would not let him compete in light of what we saw. But he's not competing, so it's not relevant.
Preemption. We the law of preemption.
Don't you think this whole thing sounds like Jeremy sounds like this rock star to these people that were dating him, hanging out with him, being friends with him, partying with him, and I think because they kind of worshipped him, he obviously has an insecurity and anger problem. He just treated them like shit, and then now they just feel like, what, fuck it, we're going to get back at him and let everyone know what he did to us. Well,
people have.
So he might be getting what he deserves in a sense, but at the same time, I don't know. It sounds like, it was like a codependent relationship they had on each other.
Well, sometimes people say enough is enough.
That's what it seems like. Yeah, that's what it seems like. Now, the whole Larry Wheels thing is weird because, like I said, Larry's the one who kind of called the cops in this whole situation. So is this a one-time thing? I don't know if Larry's like a woman abuser or not, or if it's just that this was like a tumultuous relationship that he obviously wasn't faithful to her on, and that, no guy wants to be called out. Hey, you cheated on me again. Well, whose fault is that? If she knows that, she says the guy was cheated on her from the first day they were dating. For 5 years. I mean, why would you stay with a guy like that?
Well, because you think that you can change him.
Exactly. That's what we all think. We all think we're going to change someone. I learned long ago, and I'm sure you did too. You're not going to change anyone.
That falls under the saying, you can't teach an old teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
But can't change the stripes of a zebra or whatever.
Yep, that's exactly right.
So in Jeremy's, it was maybe this quote straw that broke the camel's back, and in Larry's, it was with the girl, you can't change the stripes of a zebra.
Well, I think the girl's upset that she can't be in a relationship with him. It's like she still wants to be, and because I don't necessarily think Larry's a bad guy in terms of the way he treated her. I just think that he just didn't respect the relationship, and so it's like you don't date someone who doesn't respect you. That's the bottom line. It's like, if you date someone who's a liar and you catch him in like 5-10 lies, it's not going to get any better. That's what they are. They're a liar.
Yeah, but I mean, you get blinded by love.
Of course, I understand that. So I think Larry will be fine. Talk about rock star lifestyles, though. This guy's, like I said, living all over the place. He's in Dubai now. It's crazy. I guess he's making a ton of money on his social media. All the video monetization. The guy's got a crazy following. And he's not even lifting that heavy anymore because he's still nursing that bicep repair that he had done. He had torn his bicep lifting that Atlas stone because he's trying to get into this strongman world now, which I'm sure he's going to be very good at.
Did you hear the crazy news about Jay?
No.
He got pulled over for going through a yellow light.
Exactly. That's about that's the level of excitement of Jay Cutler's life, And he's happy. That's all he wants. He doesn't want any more excitement. He's smart. He's very smart. He's always stayed out of the drama-filled world, right?
Yeah. No
I think some bodybuilders just can't avoid it. It's like they attract it almost.
Well, they just. I mean, if you can contrast some people's lifestyles with like a Jay or Coleman, they just go to the gym and come home. Go to the gym and come home. You know what I mean?
That's the way to do it.
Eat, sleep, and train bodybuilding.
That's the way to do it.
And have a limited social life. So when you have a limited social life, you usually don't, have a lot of drama.
But isn't that the right way to do it? I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is, but it is, and I think if Jay was competing now, it would still be all the same. But it goes back to social media. People are in the limelight a lot, and just there's a lot of different influences that bodybuilders didn't have 10 years ago.
Right.
That's say like the Jay and Coleman would. They would have social media now. I mean, they have social media now, but they're not competing, obviously. But I don't think even with social media that they would be changed people. Social media can change a lot of people. I say that all the time. It can change the way they perceive themselves. It can change the perception of what they want to put out there, what's real and what's not real. You got to be level-headed to the core to be able to put out social media content like people do all the time and not get wrapped up in a lot of drama. That's not to say you can't. I mean, that social media encourages you to beat women, because it doesn't, but there's just so many traps that you can fall prey to when you're trying to put stuff out all the time and trying to live this, in some people's cases, this big time lifestyle.
And if there wasn't enough drama in the industry, then we had another, and all these, by the way, all these situations, I've done videos on RXMuscle. You can watch those. And I did a really good analysis, radio analysis with John Romano during the week on the Larry Weil situation. We didn't really talk about Sean very much, but we talked about Jeremy. And then, of course, I don't know if you've been following what happened with Nathan Asha. Nathan was arrested back in 2017 on some steroid charge. He was receiving a package with his name on it that had steroids in it. Well, he had obviously he pleaded guilty to that charge, and he hasn't been sentenced yet, but his sentencing is pending this trial of these other two people who own the gym, I guess who he was getting the package or selling the package to of steroids. And the question is, will this guy be in the Olympia now? It seems like there's no one left in the lineup.
Well, that's a decision for who to make.
I guess AMI. Should AMI let this guy was caught receiving a package of steroids, which every bodybuilder probably out there is doing.
Yeah, but there's some sense of hypocrisy.
There's hypocrisy, but like you said, if you're using them, that's one thing. But if you get caught, using them or receiving them or selling them, I mean, that's a different.
Got to protect the
story.
brand.
Yeah, you do. You do.
Got to protect that brand. Gotta cut the ties, and it's a business decision. And
do you think that they will prevent them from competing?
I do.
Okay.
I do, because they will appear as.
What if he gets sentenced to nothing? What if he gets probation?
When would that go down?
Because the trial that they're waiting to sentence him on is I don't know if it might even be over by now. It took place over the last week or so. They might have another week of trial, but so ostensibly he could be sentenced within the next 2 weeks.
I think you're asking me, but if you ask,
I'm asking you. What do you think?
If I was making the decision, I would allow him to do the show, of course.
Right.
If AMI is trying to stay consistent with, we gotta get out in front of these stories and protect the brand, and we gotta, we've got millions of dollars invested in this Olympia title, and we can't have any black eyes or any black and blues. So in that case, we got to keep it squeaky clean, and no, we can't.
We'll see what happens.
Which I don't agree with. I mean, should he be in the show? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a different situation here. He didn't commit a violent crime. It was kind of ridiculous what he did. Why anyone in their right mind, why a pro bodybuilder would receive a package of anabolic steroids in their own name to their own address? I mean, let's face it, that's not like the smartest move. You couldn't find someone to send it, someone's name to send it in somewhere else other than your own gym. It just doesn't sound like a very smart move to me. But people do dumb shit.
Well, the issues can get conflated. You say that might not be a violent crime, but who's to say TMZ doesn't run with it? Who's to say that, But
then again, steroids are not illegal, to use, although, I don't know, people would say otherwise. I mean, they don't drug test us in the IFBB.
No, but you're 100% right, they don't. But there was a, quote, crime event involved. Just the crime event involved with Rhoden, meaning police are involved.
Yeah,
charges were made. People were found in this case, right? I guess guilty.
Yeah. Here's the latest development in that court case. I guess the woman and her husband owned this gym, Pain and Gain Gym. Supposedly, Nathan was selling them the steroids. So the wife, Georgina Green, told the jury at Exeter Crown Court that WhatsApp messages between her and the Liverpool-based bodybuilder Nathan Asha had been dictated by her husband, Richard, as they lay in bed. So she's saying, I didn't have anything to do with it, basically. It was my husband. She said she did not know what they were about and had no personal involvement in the purchase of 10,000 pounds worth of steroids found in a locked boiler room at the Pain and Gain Gym in Barnstaple. She said most of the stash of the 56,000-pound banknotes in the boiler room came from her business. making customized meals for members of the gym who wanted to control the amount of carbs and protein they were eating. So she was just hiding money from the government. That's all. She didn't pay taxes. Next thing she'll get indicted for tax fraud, right? Green's husband already told the jury that the money did not come from drug or steroid dealing and was being saved up to pay for an extension on the gym. He also denied dealing in ecstasy and cocaine and testified that the 306 tablets found in his car and the 700 pounds of powder found in the lockup were all for his own use.
How big is he?
I don't know. So he's saying, in other words, they found cocaine and they found ecstasy. He's saying that was his own personal stash. He has admitted possession of steroids with intent to supply and possession of 2,300 pounds of cash, which police found in his car. So I guess they're trying to get off the big charges. They're accepting, he's accepting that the smaller charges. Nathan Dash has admitted supplying illegal steroids to the gym, where his address and fingerprints were found on packages recovered from this boiler room. Georgina Green said that she arranged for Asha to give a training seminar and demonstration at the Pain and Gain gym in May 20th of 2017, 3 months before police raided their place. She said she had been surprised at how open he was about steroids, and he went on to send pictures of stocks of the class 3 drugs. Messages from our phone said those look amazing. We can't get that sort of stuff down here, and we'll take the job lot. Whatever that means. It must be a British expression. She said the messages had been dictated by her husband, and her only contribution was to add the words darling, and I'd like to kiss you. She said the money in the boiler room consisted of 15,000 pounds from the sale of audio equipment and the rest of her private food business. Customers paid in cash, and she did not bank it because it was not part of the normal business. The trial continued. Oh, the trial's still on. Holy shit. You can't make this stuff up.
Any good news from the bodybuilding?
Yes, there was good news. I had Steve Kuklo on the TV show, and he was at the White House recently, last week, or the week before that.
What was he doing there?
Donald Trump had a social media summit to kind of get a feel for some of the social media influencers out there, and what could be done to ensure that like YouTube and Facebook, Instagram don't control, how information is disseminated. In other words, in order to keep freedom of speech, alive, it's important that the government might have to step in and stop some of these policies by YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. Because as you know, they've been banning things left and right. They have all these policies. You can't talk about this. You can't do that. They knock people's channels down. If there's going to be freedom of speech, then you can't do that. If Boston Lloyd wants to take a shot in his fucking pecs on camera and put it on his YouTube channel, he should be able to do that. Granted, YouTube doesn't have to pay him for it. He might not be able to monetize that, but he should be able to do whatever he wants. If fucking Tony Huge wants to put in, himself snorting fucking angel dust, then he should be able to do it. Don't you agree?
To some extent.
It's freedom of speech. You should be able to say whatever you want and do whatever you want. Why not?
Well, let me play devil's advocate. Yeah. You want some Al Qaeda out there talking about whatever he wants to talk about on the internet? Does he have freedom of speech?
I don't know. I guess he probably does. I mean, they'd be stupid to do that, because if they did that, then obviously they're going to get caught.
Well, I mean, but does he have the freedom to go out there and say whatever he wants and speak to whatever audience he has? Well,
why not? I mean, I'm for freedom of speech, And
the reason I ask that is,
if he's going out there teaching people how to build bombs, I mean, maybe that might be a little, over the top. Maybe, a danger to our society. But I mean, if they want to spouse out the hate of the United States on their own YouTube channels, and then do it. Who cares? I mean, that's their freedom of speech. If anyone wants to listen to it, they can listen to it. I mean, that's you can't restrict people's freedom of speech, you know, unless they're like organizing, you know, fucking, you know, some kind of conspiracy to, like, you know, harm a great number of people. Terrorism is not acceptable, obviously. But people should be able to give their religious views and stuff like that on there. They're you know, Amanda Latona, who is married to Steve, has a really, really crazy, almost 1 million people following her on Instagram. And she had started talking about giving religious messages, you know, just talking about verses in the Bible and stuff like that. That's what she's into. Trying to give positive messages out there. And they ghosted her account, which basically, I just found out that what that means that she's putting it out there. It's appearing, but no one's seeing it, basically, you know. And there's no engagement, you know, because she's like almost like a ghost out there. It's out there, but it's just not visible. And that's, you know, they can't do this. It's you know, they've created these $1 billion industries, Instagram and Facebook. Well, Facebook bought Instagram, and they have, it's a lot of power they have, you know. And think about how many people depend on that now, for their information, for their ability to communicate, with their ability to make money now and market what they have to offer, their services and their products. So, you know, that's for them to try to control, you know, the industry. They're controlling the world, basically. So I think that I believe that the government should step in and say, hey, look, guys, you can't make your own rules up here.
Yeah,
they stepped in when Ma Bell, right? Remember the monopoly on the phone thing, the phone services.
Well, the government's trying to break up. I mean, there's
right. But isn't Instagram and YouTube? I mean, so isn't Instagram and Facebook really like a monopoly in a sense?
Well, all the tech companies are, by definition. I mean, not by definition.
Well, it's a monopoly on social media. I mean, YouTube is separate from them, but they're their own monopoly because they're a video monopoly, whereas Instagram and Facebook are a visual, I guess you could say, you know, a picture and a written word, you know, monopoly.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a difference between a monopoly and freedom of speech. They're two different issues,
True.
right?
True, right.
You know, I mean, the government wants to. I mean, there's scuttlebutt. There's talk about breaking up the super large tech companies because there'll be technically supposedly no competition to, you know, compete against them. I mean, how do you compete against Google?
Exactly, but Google owns YouTube, so Google and YouTube are another, you know, whole, you know, stronghold. So you got YouTube, which is owned by Google, and then you got Facebook and Instagram. I mean, are there other social media, you know, stuff out there? Of course, but they have there's no power to them whatsoever compared to these giants.
Yeah. So they have no reach, and I mean that's
so Trump held this summit. I said, Steve, how did you get picked to go out there? He's like, I knew someone, and I have a pretty good, you know, social media following, and so they put my name into a whole list of people, and I was one of the people chosen. So he got to go to the White House. He was in the Rose Garden there. They have, you know, he got into a part of the White House, interestingly enough, that was not really privy to, like, you know, tours and stuff like that, which was kind of cool. And he got to see Trump, of course. And, you know, I think that was a good day for bodybuilding, you know, that he was actually representing. And it's always nice as a bodybuilder to be valid. Hey, asked to come to the White House. I mean, doesn't get much nicer than that. Plus, the whole history of the White House. I would love to go, you know, to the White House. I've never even gone on a tour there, but I would love to just. The history is so rich in that place. It's crazy.
You're still trying to get on the Joe Rogan show before you can go.
The Joe Rogan show, yeah, Joe Rogan show.
What is it called?
The Joe Rogan show.
The Joe Rogan show.
Yeah. Well, I put it out there. I don't care if one way or another if I go on or not, to be honest with you. I know a lot of our fans and listeners want me to go on to the Joe Rogan show. So I know they had reached out. I told you to the line editor, and he had contacted me. And we were in talks, and it still might happen. But then again, my wife's going to be giving birth soon, so I don't know if I'm going to be going anywhere because I'd have to go out to California. But there's some developments on that story. I'm holding off on that story because there's so much going on in the bodybuilding world now.
There's controversy there. I know you can't talk about
Oh, I'm going to wait. When I tell the story behind the scenes on that one, people are going to love that.
You may need a lawyer.
Exactly. But there's so much going on in the bodybuilding world now that I think that I mean, it's crazy. It's like every week another thing pops up, right?
Yeah. Who's gonna host the press conference at the Olympia? It's a question.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we lost another person. Not to add to the. It's either this is like a show of bad news. That's why I had to tell the Steve Kukla story to get people in a good mood. Gene Ricolak. I don't know if you remember that name. He was a power lifter. He was the first guy to bench press 1,000 pounds. You know, when they first started coming out with those crazy bench shirts.
Yeah.
He learned how to use them the best, I guess, and he benched 1,000 pounds. Crazy, right?
How much
the
is,
audacity to get under it. He actually was the first person to bench 900 pounds too. Then he benched 1,000. Ryan Keneally, who's a friend of mine, who's been on the show many years ago, he has the record in the bench press, which is 1075. Which, when you think about it, I mean, that's like, you know, that's insane that anyone could bench press that. I don't care what you have, what you're wearing shirt wise or anything. You have to be out of your fucking mind to get under a bar that's over your neck with 1,000 pounds on it, right? I mean, you got to be a fucking pretty badass guy to do that. Ricolak was Keneally looked like he was able to bench press that much. Ricolak looked like someone took duct tape and duct taped his body together. He was just a big, massively just strong guy, and it wasn't pretty. But this guy was one strong, you know, this guy could lift weights. I've seen him lift before at the Arnold when he was in that animal cage. He was just a strong guy. He weighed 300. I know at his peak he weighed over 345 pounds.
What's the shirt do? Keep you from blowing out your shoulders and
these crazy shirts that they have they don't even go. You can't even put the old shirts you would put. It would actually be a shirt. You'd put a bench shirt on, would hold everything nice and tight to hold everything together, and you get a little spring off it. The new shirts just basically go over your arms and your chest, and it's like you can't even, unless you're lifting like at least 700 pounds, the bar won't even come down to your chest. You have to actually pull it down. That's how tight these shirts are, and how much spring is in there. And so it assists you a little bit. But if you don't know how to use the shirt, you can kill yourself. You know.
Well, what is the world record without the shirt?
I forget who owns. Is that Mendelsohn? I think it's like 7:15 or so. I don't know. Don't quote me. I knew this at one point. I know I think Mendelsohn.
So if it's 7:15, can you make the assumption that the shirt adds 300 pounds?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely does. I think the raw bench is a real much purer type of lift.
Well, that's why I asked, of course.
Because, you know, when it comes to it comes to like squatting, you know, you got to wear knee wraps and you got to wear a belt because you're too much. It's a very dangerous lift. You know, with the bench, you know, Jimmy Pelletier, when he did, you know, his crazy lifts back in the day, he did over 1,000 pounds. It wasn't a full rep, and it wasn't by any means an official lift. But he was nuts to get under it because this guy was, you know, Jimmy was wearing like, you know, a tank top with, you know, I think like some elbow wraps or something like that. It was like nothing. He would just, you know, he looked like he just got off the beach, you know, was lifting this weight. And he only weighed like 230 pounds or something like that.
Yeah.
These guys are like 400 pounds, you know, 350 pounds when they're doing this stuff.
What was Pelletier's nickname? He was under contract with Blackman.
The Iron Bull.
Iron Bull. Who came up with the nickname?
It's Don Ross. Don the Ripper Ross.
Gosh, Don the Ripper Ross. I forgot about
May
Don.
May rest in peace, too. You know, at the 2005 Mr. Olympia, Ricolak tried to break his own record. He was going for 1,015 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And evidently there was, you know, when you bench that much, you have three spotters, basically. You have one in back of you, like a normal spotter, and then you have one on each side. In case the person can't lift the weight, it's 1,000 pounds. The guy behind him's not lifting it off him, right? So he something failed during the lift, and the spotters couldn't catch the weight. It was too much, and the weight fell onto him actually. And the guy was so massively thick that he didn't even hurt himself. Imagine that 1,000 pounds falls in your chest and you don't even get hurt.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Anyway, he'll be missed. I know a bunch of powerlifters who are, sent me.
I don't even know I don't even know the numbers anymore. What's like the world record for deadlift? I used to know the numbers when I was a kid.
The deadlift is really high. It's like 1,200 or something like that, I think.
It's gotta be 1,200. Yeah, 1,200. What about the
I think
squat?
Eddie Hall has that now. The squat is like crazy too. I don't even know how these guys lift that much, to be honest with you. When I got under 700 pounds with a squat bar, I thought that the World Trade Center was sitting on top of my fucking back. Just walking back with the weight was scary, and I was 319 pounds. It was an enormous pressure on your body, and it was actually easier to move the weight than it was to actually walk with the weight. Now they have these, the monolift where they actually just release. You just get under it, and the weight just is on you. You don't have to move with the weight anymore, which is much easier, of course. But it's crazy. It's I really, I take my hat off to these guys. I once asked a powerlifter, I think it was Mendelson. I said, when you get under that kind of weight, I said, do you say a prayer? I mean, you could die. I mean, this is not like you're trying to get your personal best. This is serious weight that can kill you.
And what was his answer?
He's like, yeah, of course you do. He's like, of course I do. Paleccia used to tell me all the time. He always made the sign of the cross. He said, because I'm like, God, you got to be with me on this one, I used to squat. This is how crazy I was. When I would squat, I would be doing reps, I'd be under 600 pounds, and I'd be doing 3-4 reps. By the fourth rep, I would be seeing stars spinning around my eyes.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I keep going. I don't even know what it was. I don't even know if I was dying or if it was oxygen death to my brain. I don't know what it was, but I would see stars, and I just stayed in the zone. I trusted my spotter, my training partner, and I just kept going. And I would do another 2 or 3 reps, and I'm like, after the set was over, I was like, "Oh, that was close." Maybe that was kind of stupid that I did that, but I noticed that would happen a lot. You ever experience that?
Not spinning and not stars, but I'd probably put the weight back. I think if I started to get dizzy or spinning.
I wasn't dizzy or spinning. I just saw. I actually saw stars like in around my eyes.
Cartoon.
Yeah, it was like everything slows down. I don't know if you when I would do crazy personal best heavy weights, it was like a surreal experience. It was almost like I was in another world. I was so focused on what I was doing, so hyper alert to what I was doing that it was weird. It was it was surreal. After the set was over, it was almost like I don't know how it even happened. And I've heard other people describe it like that as well.
Isn't it funny you look back and think God, how did I do that type of weight?
Yeah. I think what the problem is that people are afraid to go there. It's a very scary place, I'll never forget when I met a guy in 1986. I was at a hotel up in the Catskill Mountains. My dad decided to take my sister and I away before I started my first year of college. And I had a good upper body. I was lifting weights and I was running, so I didn't really lift weights with my legs. So I had good upper body. I had good abs, and I was ripped as usual. I didn't have big legs. I looked like a rock climber, And this guy said he was a bodybuilding coach. I didn't even know what bodybuilding was, and he took me aside. He's like, you got a great physique. I was playing softball, with the older guys, and I was just ripped, but I wasn't huge or anything like that. I probably weighed 165 pounds, whatever. And he said, do you want to be a bodybuilder or a runner? He goes, because you look like you're half and half. I said, well, I want to be a runner. He goes, well, if you want to be a bodybuilder, you're going to have to take steroids. And I didn't know anything about it. I'm like, well, I don't want to take steroids.
They get him in Barnstable.
Exactly. He's like, well, then if you're going to be a runner, he goes, you're going to have to lose a lot of that muscle size because you're too big. Which he was right, and that's what I wound up doing. But he said, one thing that you have to know, and I wish I knew who this guy was. I really, if he's listening, if he's still alive, I'd love to know, because he really gave me some good advice. He said to me, you have to be willing to die if you want to be a great athlete. In other words, you got to push so hard that you're willing to almost pass out. He goes, have you ever held your breath until you just, lost consciousness? I said, no. He said, well, try it. I said, I don't know if I could do it, And I didn't understand what he was trying to get at that time. It was too intense for me to even understand. As I got into bodybuilding or even running, and I got to that elite level where I was, pushing that, where I would run and I would push, to the end of the world to try to win that race, I understood what he meant. You had to go to a place of pain and suffering that no one else was willing to go to. And a lot of people are afraid to go there because they feel like they're going to die. Isn't that because that's the ultimate fear we all have, right? We're going to die.
Yeah.
It's too much pain. I don't want to go there. I'm going to die. I don't want to die. You're not going to die, So I understood it from a running perspective. And in one race, I pushed that hard. And I went up getting a stitch in my side. I couldn't finish the race. Pushed too hard. But in bodybuilding, same thing. You have to be willing to put yourself on the line, like almost to the point of death. Obviously, there has to be some kind of a preservation mechanism, but you have to be willing to do something that other people are not willing to do if you want to be better than everyone else. And not everyone has that mentality and can do it.
True. What you like better, the runner's high or the crazy pump?
The runner's high is better, but
I used to run. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I used to run before.
Yeah, but the bodybuilding
pump is more addictive, I think.
Yeah, because you're not really changing your body that much running. You're changing your ability to do things, and you're getting more skills, and you're more in control of your body. But with bodybuilding, you see that. You see how you change. You see, your body, just transforming itself. I think that's the addiction there.
Yeah.
More so than a runner's high or anything like that. It's an interesting, it's not many people have done both like I did, and like you might have, but it's a different type of high. And you know what? I was swimming in my pool today. I know I'm driving people crazy. I hear this like stupid noise on this microphone. It's driving me crazy now too. I don't know why. I'm sorry if I'm annoying you guys with this noise. I'm trying to figure out what's making this. I may have to get a new microphone. I was swimming in my pool today, and I decided to swim a couple laps because I realized I can swim now that I have 2 new shoulders. So I put my goggles on, and I started swimming. Now, I have an arrhythmia, too, so I don't want to get my heart rate too high, right? So I'm swimming. I did about four laps, and I got that high. I got that runner's high going, that endurance high. I, slipped into that zone of, I might be able to do 100 laps if I keep going, And I stopped, of course. but it's an addicting. Once you learn to get into that zone of, you don't want to get out of it. That's the addiction to what we do.
Well, anything can be addictive, right? I mean, there's a high in doing a lot of things that people like to do, right?
Yeah, but I understand the exercise high. It's definitely it's definitely addictive. But how many people are willing to go to that point? And that comes back to what I was saying before. A lot of people just don't want to go to the point of death. And they don't like that. They think, and it sounds ridiculous as I'm saying it right now. Death. Who wants to push to the point of death? Well, you know what? You're not going to die. But you know what? The point is that you have to be willing to go there every single day. Talk to Ronnie Coleman with some of the lifts he did. Talk to Jay. Talk to Dorian. You got to be able to go to that point where you are pushing yourself beyond what is ever comfortable, what feels safe, what feels like you should be doing. It's coming out of that comfort zone on a daily basis, and most people just can't handle that. And because they can't handle that, they'll never be great. They'll be good, but they'll never be great.
Well, you always have to be in an uncomfortable zone to improve in anything.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Otherwise, comfortable is just easy, and it's stagnation.
Yep.
That goes for anything.
And I've had a lot of people in my life who've pushed me out of my comfort zones in different aspects of my life. Because we all fall into look, I'm at the point now where I'm like, I'm not competing anymore. What do I need to be in? I need to be comfortable now, right? So I can focus on what I'm doing. But there's other aspects of my life that I got to come out of the comfort zone if I'm going to be better at. You can't fall. A lot of people fall. They're coaches, but they become complacent with what they know, and they don't continue to educate themselves. And I can sometimes slip into that. Luckily, because I teach, I constantly have to be on top of what the newest stuff is. But complacency is very, very common in life. People get very comfortable and then they don't progress beyond that. It's like the country doctor. You had this guy he's been a doctor for 50 years, and he's still treating people with the same modalities he did 50 years ago.
Yeah.
He was a great doctor 50 years ago, but unfortunately they have new medications now, and they have new therapies now, and you got to change with the times, and it sucks. I hate changing with the times because every time I turn around, and I think I got the newest social media thing mastered, they come up with a new social media, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Facebook, I got it mastered. Now they got Instagram. I don't want to go to Instagram. Come on, man. How many of these we got to do? I got to check another email now?
You're not on Twitter, though, right?
Nah, we tweet for RXMuscle. Sid does most of the tweeting. I don't do Twitter. I'm not really a Twitter. Twitter is good if you're like a political person, that's very big on the political aspect. I think Instagram has taken over most of the social media people who were doing tweeting before that. I think most people are Instagramming now. How many different fucking places do you have to go to? I mean, I think Instagram is the most popular now, so that's why I just stick with Instagram. And the great thing about Instagram is that because Facebook owns it, they're integrated. So anything you post on Instagram will get posted on your Facebook as well. So that makes it easy for me. But and then what it's easy to I share all the RXMuscle, videos we post to my Facebook. I don't do that on Instagram. So I usually try to focus mostly on those two as far as my own personal social media goes. And that's enough of a burden. I can sometimes sit on that Instagram and I start getting sucked into it. I start getting stressed out because I'm like, oh, I'm not keeping up on this. This guy just posted this. I'm like, fuck it, I got to turn it off. Enough is enough. Too much. It's too much. It's like every second of the day there's a new development in something. Did you hear about this person? Did you hear what so-and-so posted? Did you hear this person? He's being outed on this one. This one's YouTube. This guy video. How many fucking videos can I do a week,
How many are you doing a week?
I don't even know. Because you know what happens? I film most of my stuff on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Sid calls me up on Thursday, and he's like, oh, breaking news. All right, fine. I'll do it. Friday, another one. Saturday, another one. I'm like, I'm doing more videos on the days I'm not recording videos than I'm doing on the days I am recording. So it gets crazy. And then YouTube is constantly demonetizing stuff, and they got all their crazy policies. It's like a headache, really. It is. But I'm at the same point. You can criticize social media, but it's a wonderful thing because think about what it would have cost you to have to get the level of engagement in the year 1990. You would have had to advertise in a magazine, right? That's the only way you could have gotten engagement. Maybe if you were lucky, get on a talk show, right?
Think about what social media did to magazines. Just destroyed them. Mm-hmm. Bodybuilding magazines. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, now anyone can put out anything. And, even how long ago was it? How long ago was it that muscle development was 500 pages? Seriously. How many
When I left in 2009.
That's not too long ago.
No.
500 pages.
Over 500. It was like almost 600. Now, there was half of it was ads, but that's still a lot of pages of
still pages.
Content, yeah.
And, 600 down to, what is it now, 14? I mean, it's... think of how successful Flex Magazine was when AMI took it over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was maybe 260 pages, but, huge circulation, down to what? Flex is not in existence anymore, so down to zero. Or is it?
There's no Flex Magazine now.
crazy.
So the USA Championships just let out, which is good for us. Zach Merkel wins it. He won the super heavy and the overall, beating out Nick Walker in second in the supers. Brandon Barrow and Vincenzo Missoni, who we know from Long Island. Great super heavyweight class. I was looking at the pictures. I don't know if you saw them yet. Really good. Really, really good, guys. Nick Epler wins the heavyweight class. He looked great, too. Good conditioning on these guys.
Yeah. Who won the overall?
Zach Merkel. I don't know who he is personally, but I looked at his pictures. He looked good.
Big legs, big front.
I'll have to get him on the TV show and interview him.
He's good.
Right?
Very good. Very big. Very round.
I like the light heavyweight winner, too. Tonio Burton. He almost looks like a classic guy.
Yeah, very impressive.
Crazy abs. He's like a Kai Green, like in the making. He's got Ronnie Coleman glutes. Did you see the guy's glutes? Blackman would love these things. Oh, my God. Seriously, this guy could be the next Ronnie Coleman with those glutes. If he puts on some upper body size, forget about it.
He's very good also. Very good.
Who said bodybuilding's dying, right? Ha, ha, ha. Bodybuilding got the last laugh on you guys, that's for sure. You know, I think the super heavyweight class was a surprise win because I think Nick Walker was a favorite going in there, I would think.
Yeah, his legs look flattened. I'm looking at the pictures right now. His legs look like good. Just they look. One has outstanding legs.
Yeah.
You know.
Does tremendous.
It could be just a pass between the two.
Yeah. He was tremendous. Heavyweight class, Nate, like I said, Nate Epler won that. Mariando Grajeda second. Scott Holliday third. Jay Bednar fourth, who I actually helped. Probably the best he's ever looked. Proud of him. Congratulations. I wanted to give him a little shout out on here. He's just going to be, next year he's going to be really good, I think. If he puts on a little more size. I think there's a lot of good young talent in the bodybuilding world. I think this show proves it because a lot of names a lot of people didn't know here, and these guys got tremendous talent. I think if they keep improving, they're going to be good pros. So, I don't believe. You know what? The bodybuilding world has gone like this for the last 100 years. It goes in spurts. You have periods of dry periods where there's no talent. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you get a new class of just amazing people. And that's just the way it is. Yeah, are we going to lose? Did we lose some people to Classic? Absolutely. But there's always going to be guys that want to be big, you know? Jonathan Pelkey wins the Classic overall. Crazy vacuum pose.
Yeah, it looks very good.
A little smaller than I thought, but you know what? What happens is you start comparing the amateur winners to the pro winners, and that's not a good comparison, of course. Now, I heard a rumor that they're going to raise the weight classes again. Did you hear that? In Classic? Another 5 pounds?
I didn't hear it. We've discussed it in the past.
We both thought it was a mistake if they would do that, but I heard that they're going to. I don't know if that's true or not.
You know what? You know how much muscle is in 5 real pounds?
It's a lot of muscle, I know. It's tremendous, man.
It's like let's just do this. If Curry put on 5 since Arnold, he wins.
Yeah.
If he didn't, and Bonac put on 5 since Arnold, he wins. If neither of them did, and Rolly puts on 5 pounds of muscle, maybe Rolly because of bigger frame, 7, he wins. You know what? It's a ton of muscle.
If they raise the weight classes too high, you're going to destroy open bodybuilding. It's just the fact.
Well,
you're going to keep siphoning more people off of it. It's silly to do that. You don't need to anymore.
Well, you get caught up too with I mean, you end up probably getting people. It becomes a disadvantage for, who's got a killer physique. I'll give you the perfect example. It becomes a weird disadvantage for somebody who's tremendous bodybuilder. Who's the classic guy who's a tremendous poser? I mean, there's a lot of classic guys who are tremendous posers, but in Olympia, he usually gets like 7th to 10th.
I don't know who you're referring to, but
anyhow, there's some people with fabulously classic structures, tiny waists, classic to a T, but smallish frames, and it seems like they might be overlooked and be maybe a disadvantage to them raising the class 5 pounds, because they may not be able to add the 5, and then they're standing next to someone who, even though they may have great conditioning, better flow, better shape, and your eyes could be drawn to the guy who's, quote, bigger.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake.
More, quote, classic.
I think it's a big mistake if they do that. But I don't know. That's just a rumor I heard. We'll see what happens with that. I mean, it would certainly help guys like George Peterson, right?
Yeah, it would help him. For sure. I mean, it's going to help it's going to help a lot of people.
Bumstead, I'm sure it'll help guys like him too.
Yeah, help him. But it's. I guess it's palatable if the judges still hold tightly onto the idea of what classic is in terms of.
But it's not. It's bodybuilding. It's bodybuilding that's being judged based on can you make the weight class? I mean, look, you sucked. Who'd you suck down 25 pounds to make weight and win the show?
Reagan.
All right. So, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you get a guy like, it's going to turn into bodybuilding. I'm telling you, it will ruin bodybuilding. It will ruin men's open body. You got to keep a distinction between the two of them. It's like what happened with women's physique. Women's physique is bodybuilding now. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I didn't think there was anything wrong with bodybuilding anyway. They just would let the girls get out of control. So they rebooted it, basically. And that's fine, because they needed to do that. But they don't need to reboot men's bodybuilding. Leave it alone. Stop siphoning people off of it so that you have an Olympia that has no one in it. That's stupid. Classic is not going to replace bodybuilding. There's always going to be guys that want to be big, and the fans want to see that. Don't limit the gene pool because you're allowing too many people in classic. I think that would be a mistake. But what the fuck do I know anyway? What do I know? Let's talk about, anyway, for all the results in the USA Championships, you can check out npcnewsonline.com. They got all the pictures and all the good results there. So that's where I checked it out. I bless them for putting up there's like 4,000 names. I feel bad for all the photo taggers that have been working all weekend long. It's a big job, believe me. I've done it before, I know. There was the Prestige Crystal Cup also, which took place in Boca Raton this past weekend. They had a women's physique. Brittany Watts won that. Jeannie Feldman was second. And Rashawn Boswell was third. Congratulations to her. What else did they have? Well, they had a couple of... I don't even need to mention the Masters. They also had this show, the Kai Green Classic. I guess that was in Italy, in Venice. That is tomorrow, so... because we're recording a little early, so the results haven't come in yet. There wasn't a men's open or anything in that. There was a classic physique, men's physique, fitness, and figure. The competitor numbers look really low to me. I'm surprised. Who wouldn't want to go to Italy and compete, right?
I would like to cover the show. How's that?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, let's go out there and cover it. And there was a Korea Pro Classic Physique Division, same day. Seems like that hasn't let out yet. That's tomorrow also. It seems like all the people were Korean except the one Polish guy, Peter Borecki. He'll probably win. So a lot going on in the bodybuilding world this past week, and who knows what's going to develop. Tomorrow could be another blockbuster story, Chris, because it seems like every day is something new happening, and I got to be on call. It's like I thought I'm getting a little break, and it's like I got to be on call constantly now because I gotta thank all our fans and all the friends I have on Facebook and Instagram and
Because they text you right away.
they text me. I get the lead. I get the advantage. A lot of times I get the story before everyone does, and I'm afraid to post it because it's so so insanely sensationalistic that I can't even believe. I can't believe that it's real. I'm afraid. Holy mackerel! If I post this, what if it's wrong? You know.
You got to check your source.
I always check the source because it's irresponsible if I put something up and it's not true. I don't care about being the first person. It doesn't really matter to me. I'd rather report, a more accurate story and not be the first person. But it's nice when people tip me off on what's going on. So once again, we have some great fans and great people who watch the show, and you know what? They appreciate it. Sometimes it's funny. Every once in a while I get a guy who's like standing next to someone when something goes down, and they like text me, Dave, this just went down, and I'm like, are you sure? I was standing right there. I saw it. I'm like, all right.
Well, you always send me emails from someone who's standing right there.
Right? Don't I? I do it a lot, and a lot of times I don't even. I never tell anyone that happened. But I always tell you because
there's a million stories that. That's why I always say, Dave, everything. When you were living in Seaford, I used to say everything moves through Seaford.
50% of what I get is what I put up. The other 50% is in the bag usually. Chris and I discuss it off camera. That's why I always say the best part of the radio show is the show that no one hears before the show and after the show.
You would need F. Lee Bailey to
right.
broadcast the show on your behalf.
Yeah, but I'm like Blackman. I got my file going. I got a file on everyone now. So just when you think you're coming after me, I got a file on you. Remember that. All right, Chris, I know it's very late. You have young children. I have young children that luckily have not woken up yet.
You have one way.
I have one on the way. Probably end of August we'll have it. So that'll be crazy.
Okay, great. Tell Amanda that you'll be at the Olympia. End of August you can go to the Olympia.
I'm not going anywhere. Happy wife, happy life. That's the saying that says it. You want a good quote of the week? There's your quote of the week. Yeah, forget about you can't change a zebra stripes. Happy wife, happy life. Remember that, guys. And the cops won't be coming to your house, and you won't be out on the street. Just make sure your wife is happy. That's the number one priority. One of my clients, I guess I can mention her, Sally. It's called Sally Parker. She got me, sometimes I get some really nice gifts in the mail. I got a $100 gift certificate to a restaurant here that I go to once in a while. It's a really nice restaurant. It just goes to show me that my fans actually and the people that I work with actually pay attention to all these videos we do and stuff I put on Instagram. And she called the restaurant and had a gift card sent to my house. Just really, really nice. People do nice things. It happens all the time, and I don't want to discount other people that I get T-shirts. I get stuff sent to me in the mail all the time from fans and stuff like that. People are just really, really thoughtful, and it makes me, thinking about. I was just thinking we were in IHOP today. Listen to this, Chris. We're in IHOP. My wife, myself, Logan, Aria. We're eating. I go to pay. I got to get out of here. My kids are starting to act like a maniacs. I'm like, ask the woman, the waitress for the bill. She's like, you know what? A customer paid for your bill. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, someone paid for it. I said, really? Who? She's like, just some random customer. I'm looking all around IHOP to see if there's like Bodybuilder in there or something like that. She wouldn't tell me who it was. They didn't want to know. They didn't want me to know. It was like a $35 bill plus the tip. Probably was $50. How nice is that?
Yeah.
So I got to pay it forward. I got to do nice stuff for other people.
Well, you never know who's watching.
Supposedly that's the new thing now. People are buying stuff for people, treating them, and you're supposed to kind of take that and then pay it forward, type of thing. So, Chris, if next time you go through a toll booth, if the toll's paid, it might be me. You never know.
Well, I have my Easy Pass, so I just fly through.
Remember that? Remember back in the day, you'd be driving with like someone, and you go through the toll booth first, and you'd be like, "I'm paying for him behind me."
Yeah.
Now, there's no one goes to toll booths. So everyone's got an Easy Pass, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone.
Well, smart people do. In New York, if you don't have one, you're insane because speaking of insane, one of my clients, she moved to New Haven, Connecticut, and she's commuting from New Haven to Long Island City every 4 or 5 days a week. Can you imagine that to work?
Yeah.
That's 4 hours in the car each
Crazy.
way. She's trying to get transferred.
Evan used to go 3 hours down to train with
Oscar.
Yeah,
that's true. That's pretty insane too. What's going on with Evan? I heard is he trying to compete again this year or next year? Rather?
I don't know what's happening with Evan. Last I heard is he was prepping. The last time he was prepping for a show when he got hurt.
When he tore the quad, yeah.
Yeah, Jose said he looked outstanding.
Yeah. Well, I heard he's going to. Someone told me he's been trying to make a comeback. When I was helping Evan when he was an amateur, I said this guy's going to be one of the best pros of all time. I thought he would certainly be top 6 at the Olympia. And it didn't happen. But the guy is a very popular. He makes a good living for himself. He's very popular, and he's won New York Pro and some major pro shows before. You worked with him a little bit too. Oscar worked with him a little bit. He's one of these guys. He's you wanted to see him go all the way, and I thought he had the ability to go all the way, but maybe he didn't want to go all the way. You know how that works?
How's that work?
No, some people do. In other words, I have this I'm like an all or none guy. Some people are not. Some people are much more balanced in their existence than that. And he's just kind of coasted along. Health is always very important to him, and he always made a good living. Animal's been supporting this guy forever. He's been with that company even when he was. Remember, he left that one year to work with Aaron and PJ on some deal, and that went sour. And then he went back to Animal.
Yeah,
they took him back. He got to be with them 15 years.
Yeah, he just went through a yellow light as well. Him and Jay both.
He lives a very, very. There's no controversy in his life either.
The controversy is that he grilled the salmon.
Right. For too long. He made it too well done.
He realized that the pan he used had Teflon on it.
That's right. He had to throw it out and start again.
He had to throw the whole pan out and the fish. He's guilty of that, cooking salmon on a Teflon pan.
And I believe one time he might have microwaved something in a plastic container too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he doesn't eat. He doesn't.
Only glass. He only puts stuff in glass. All his, how people have Tupperware they put their food in. His is all glass Tupperware.
Does it have a plastic top? Because we don't use Tupperware.
He must have a plastic top. I would think. I don't know, but who knows? He might use I don't know. Saran
on the
wrap.
show, what he's up to.
I should. Thank you. That's a good. It's a good thing.
Yeah,
he's always a good interviewer. Anyway.
It's funny. Someone just asked me. They said, "What's happening with Evan?" I said, "I don't know. I haven't talked to him for a while."
All right, that's all she wrote, as she said, as they like to say. In the who made up that saying? That's all she wrote.
Probably Yogi Berra or something. I don't know. Google it. Go on that monopoly called Google before they're broken up by the government and find out.
For some reason, when I hear that's all she wrote, I think of there she blows. Remember Moby Dick? It's an American expression.
That's all she wrote. The fat lady sings. They're kind of like cousins that are related.
The popular version of the origin of this expression is that it is a punchline of a mournful tale about an American GI serving overseas in World War II. The said sad serviceman is supposed to have received a letter from his sweetheart. He reads it to his colleagues. Dear John, will go on and say, that's it. That's all she wrote. The story's plausible. It was a Dear John. I guess the girl broke up with him.
Great origin if it's true. Even if it's not true, it's a great origin. It sounds like a great origin. How about the fat lady sings? That's a popular one.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
It's a good question. Maybe Aretha Franklin was the fat lady.
In the Bag. That's a popular one too. We got it. We got this show. It's in the bag.
I'm going to just do one more. The fat lady sings. Let's see what they say. It ain't over till the fat lady sings is a colloquialism which is often used as a proverb. It means that one should not presume to know the outcome of an event while it's still in progress.
Yeah, we know that part.
I know. I'm trying to find the origin of it.
Sounds like for some reason I connected to opera.
The phrase is generally understood to be referencing the stereotypically overweight soprano of an opera.
Oh, good guess.
The imagery of Robert Wagner's opera cycle, ba 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 ba, and its last part, do 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 do. I can't pronounce it. That's why I'm humming that. Is typically the one used in depictions accompanying reference to that phrase. The fat lady is the Valkyrie, who is traditionally presented as a very buxom lady. Her farewell scene lasts almost 20 minutes and leads directly to the finale of the whole ring cycle. So it's not over till the fat lady sings, literally.
Well, the fat lady is sung, and it's 2 a.m. So
That's right.
Wrap the show.
And then Yogi Berra's made it very popular by saying, it ain't over till it's over. Remember?
Yeah.
That's great. I love that. It ain't over till it's over, and it's over, Chris. Until next week, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
The truth hurts.
good night, everyone.